Everybody's out here making designing a brand seem way more complicated than it actually is. It's actually pretty simple. Now you might have people saying,
oh, you need a design degree, or oh, you didn't work in a design agency your whole life.
Well, I personally started my design agency 2 years ago with little to no design experience, no design degree whatsoever, and definitely no cash. And now I'm making 10 times the money I was in my 9 to 5, and I also have the freedom to work from wherever I like. Now, this video isn't saying that you're going to be able to start charging 10, 20 or 50,000 pounds for a branding project, but if you are watching this free course, then I'm assuming that you're in a similar position to me a few years ago with a huge interest in design and no interest in working a 9 to 5. And ideally, you want to get started in the world of design, making about 5k per month. So for those of you nodding your head at the screen right now, this video is going to give you the exact blueprint and all of the information that you need to go away and start charging enough to make design your career. So here's the truth about designing a brand identity in 2025. Most people fail creating designs that resonate with people because they don't create a strategy, they can't justify any of their design decisions, and they wonder why all of their designs then get rejected by clients. But don't worry, we are going to make sure that you do not fall into that category of designers, and I'm going to show you the exact process that me and my designers at Nonstop use to create meaningful brand identities. Now, I hope you didn't click on this video for some basic tutorial, because I'm going to give you my full blueprint from A to Z, how to ideate, create, and deliver brand identities. Because I personally wish that there was a video like this when I was starting out, literally handing me a proven working formula. That would have honestly saved me a ridiculous amount of time, money, and also mistakes. And I really don't want you to go through the same thing. So we're going to go through what a brand identity is, how to onboard the client, creating a strategy, mood boarding, designing the identity, and how to deliver it. So if you're serious to take that dream of drawing for a living and finally make it a reality in 2025, then I can promise you that this is the video that you've been waiting for. So all I've got to say is lock in, get your notepad out, and let's get started. Okay, so branding in its simplest form is perception engineering. Alex Hormozi says that branding is associating your business with a desired outcome. For example, making people link your product to a specific result. Coke is refreshing and Nike equals athletic performance. Marty Noumier, on the other hand, says that branding is a customer's gut feeling about a product, service, or company. It's not what you say it is, it's what people believe it is. Now, both are true, because you shape perception through strategic association, which is Alex Hormozi's belief, but ultimately the market decides what your brand means, which is Marty Noumier's belief. So the question is, how do you bridge strategy and perception to build a brand that actually sticks? And this is where my KPS framework comes into play. A brand identity isn't just about how you look, it's about how you show up, what you stand for, and how you make people care. When I've been bringing on designers for my design agency at Nonstop, I teach designers this framework to make branding clear, actionable, and effective. K is know your people. Because branding isn't about you, it's about them. You want to get obsessed with their desires, the frustrations, and also the triggers. If you don't know the audience better than they know themselves, you're simply just guessing. P is pick a promise. A brand without a clear, sharp promise is honestly just noise. Your promise should be specific, bold, and relevant. Something that instantly connects with your audience's desires. Think Tesla's, for example, is accelerate the future. And S is shape it. This is where strategy meets execution. Your visuals, your messaging, and your presence must consistently reinforce your promise, because honestly, inconsistency will just completely kill the trust. So if we bring it all together, Hormozi says that you deliberately create associations with an outcome, and Noumier says your audience internalizes and decides what your brand truly means. Which means that branding isn't a guessing game. It's a strategic play, and this is exactly why strategy is a non-negotiable. So with that being said, let's talk about the deliverables. Here's everything that I provide to a client when building a brand identity. And the first one is a strategy document. This is a 30+ page deep dive that carves out a unique position in the market, ensuring that the brand stands out with clarity and purpose. The second is mood boards or stylescapes. I present 3 distinct visual directions using already existing client work, allowing the client to align with a vision before we dive deep into design. Third is the visual identity. This includes a logo suite, which is multiple logo variations for different use cases, a word mark, which is a clean custom typographic logo, a color palette, which is a strategic color selection for brand consistency, typography selections, we're talking primary and secondary fonts, and then we have the brand assets, which are patterns, icons, or illustrations, and also supporting graphic elements. And then we package this inside of a brand presentation, which is a polished presentation explaining every single design decision, ensuring that the client understands the why behind the new identity. And then once everything's signed off, I create a comprehensive brand guidelines document detailing exactly how to use their brand for consistency across all different touch points. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. That's going to take me ages, and honestly it does, but you can help streamline your workflow with templates. Now, there's many videos on my page where I walk you through exactly how to create these sort of slide decks from start to finish, but if you would like to purchase my proven framework and literally take the exact templates that I use on a daily basis, you can do using the first link in the description, and if you use the code Jack, that's going to get you 20% off. Okay, so first of all, you need to have your onboarding process nailed. The perceived value of your service is only as good as your onboarding service, meaning they'll likely turn away if you don't have this thought through. Personally, my onboarding process starts with a discovery call. On the call, I ask the client about the problems, walk them through our branding process, and also walk them through the client portal hosted on Notion. After the call, I build out a brand proposal document. To structure this, I'd recommend we starting with an introduction, include any social proof if possible, talk about your edge over other designers. I personally target people who want disruptive branding. If you haven't got any projects, then I would definitely recommend creating some fake ones with today's process. Now, you do want to try and pick 2 case studies that are tailored to the client's needs. If you do have any similar projects, then definitely include these here. I then have 6 customized goals that we will achieve during the project. We then go into the pricing structure. If the client is clear on what they want, then I tend to just present one option. However, if they are unsure and have really big budgets, then throw a few options in there, but make sure that the third option will be worth your time, aka put a big price on there. And then for the last page, I had a tailored note recapping our call and showing my excitement to potentially work with them. From here, the client uses my Notion portal to first of all confirm if they'd like to proceed, and then they can go to invoices and pay the deposit using this Stripe link, which leads us nicely into strategy. Now, before we briefly touched on the KPS framework, and now during the strategy, this is where we get to know our people inside out, and we can also pick our promise. Now, it's all good and well doing our own research, but the reality is that your client knows their industry inside and out. So we need to extract as much information from them as possible. And that's where the client questionnaire comes into place. So let's take a look at a real example for a real client of mine called 4Hair. For context, this is a hair care company founded by a barber influencer called Kenneth IV, and he wants to take his influence and monetize it in the form of hair care products. Now, first things first, I always ask who their ideal customer is, and Ken said his target audience are males who care about their hair aged 15 to 25. I further asked him what the characteristics are, and he said that they would be motivated, trendy, and prioritize their appearance. I then asked him, what issues do your hair products solve? And he said a lot of hair care manufacturers create hair care products with unnecessary ingredients that could potentially damage your hair long term. So he wants to create a hair care solution with transparent ingredients. Now, while he's telling me this, I'm starting to think of keywords which we could potentially use for the brand values. Already I'm thinking authentic, transparent, confident. I then go ahead and ask for some URLs of his competitors. This is to get an understanding of why his competition is so successful in the first place. Next, I want to ask the client what's really driven them to create this brand. A good question to ask is, what emotions do you want your brand to evoke in consumers? This links back to Alex Hormozi's idea of branding, which is associating your business with a desired outcome. And Ken said to us, anticipation, trust, admiration, confidence, courage, and reliability. Now, already I'm getting a clear idea of his target audience, which is going to help us with the execution, but there is still some more questions we can ask. I always ask to my clients, if you were to only choose 5 words to describe your brand, what would they be? And he said authentic, creative, passionate, boundless, and culture. And finally, I finish it off by collecting a list of brands that inspire him, so then this gives me a better idea of how we can align our vision with his, and finish it by asking if there are any non-negotiables regarding the branding. Now, I've personally worked on projects before where the client has been so adamant that they want to keep their old logo or a specific colour, or they might even have a preference for a typeface. Now, you've got to judge this on a case-by-case basis to see if it's appropriate, but most of the time, it is. Now, we usually have sufficient information to then build out a strategy, and I've built out a 40-page document which presents it to the client nicely. But essentially, we just cover the following. Taking a look at the contents here, you can see that we introduce the brand with the history behind why it was created, and also what the problem is that they want to solve. We then go on to say the brand mission, we curate this to articulate what the brand does on a daily basis, and then we articulate a vision, which is the broader goal that we aspire to achieve. You'll see next we have unspoken truth. And this is key for me to unlock effective messaging for the brand. I like to think deep into a unique insight that can deeply connect with customers and make them feel like they're a part of a community rather than just purchasing a product. Brand values, we pick 3 that we stand by, allowing us to design with intention. Tone of voice, again 3 characteristics to make sure that our messaging resonates with the desired audience. And then I like to create 3 character personas to confirm who our vision is for. Competition analysis to see what works and where we can have the edge. And finally, how we're going to position ourselves. So let's take a look at what we created for 4Hair based on the client questionnaire. For our brand mission, we said to help young men maintain their youth through style. For our brand vision, we said a world where every young man can embrace and enhance his hair without fear of judgment. For unspoken truth, to resonate with the audience on a deeper level, we uncovered that the care that we put into our hair isn't just about the aesthetics, but it's actually about preserving our youth. And this is going to unlock a self-realization within potential customers, making them realize their daily grooming habits is deeper motivations. Brand values in line with the client's desires. We've gone for authenticity, confidence, and innovation. I've then created 3 profiles of people who will be likely to purchase from them. And then we've analyzed competition. How can we get the edge? Where are they lacking? And what can we take from each brand? Finally, we have tone of voice. We want to be talking directly with confidence to the audience of young, motivated males. So we need to be unapologetic. I just want to really quickly interrupt this video and shout out our sponsor, Framer. If you've not yet created a professional portfolio with Framer, you are 100% missing out. This is the no-code web building tool that everybody is now using, and it allows people to make crazy animations like this. Again, with no code. Now, if you want to get started today with Framer, Code Jack is going to get you 25% off your first 3 months. Or you can get started today with a free Framer domain. Link in the description. And the next step is to create a mood board so we can successfully align our vision with the client. By mood boarding, I simply mean collecting a bunch of images from sites like Pinterest or Behance, which accurately paint the vision that you have for the direction of the brand. I like to structure this in the format of logo inspiration, type inspiration, color, and packaging for this brand. It's good practice to send over a few different mood boards, but make sure you can still tie in all of the decisions back to the strategy. Now, if you struggle creating different variations, try taking your 3 values, for example, and prioritize 1 per mood board. That would mean for hair, we would have a mood board for authenticity, confidence, and also innovation. But you want to make sure that you can still link all of the values back to the mood board, but try and lean into one of the words that dominate the feel. Spoiler for this client, we went back and forth a few times to get the mood board right, and we eventually landed on the following brief. To create a vibrant identity with bold colour combinations that would stand out on a shelf, whilst also having a professional finish. So to achieve this, we agreed on a large colour palette, a clean sans serif typeface, a flexible brand system to showcase the contrasting colours. This could be interlocking shapes or different gradients. And finally, implement subtle hand illustrated drawings that would scream authenticity. And this now gives us an actionable checklist to go out there, curate the brand in line with the client's vision, which means that there will be very little to no surprises. So which do we tackle first? Well, personally, I like to go for typography. Some of my favourite sites are Adobe Fonts, Google Fonts, and also Envato Elements. Now, once I've spent a couple of hours collating these fonts, I set them up inside of an elimination chamber, which is an Adobe Illustrator file with a bunch of different fonts, and then all I need to do is head to find and replace, change the name to the brand's name, and then the reason it's called the elimination chamber is because we slowly go through each font, eliminating the ones that we don't like until there is simply 1 font left. So here's the font that we picked for this brand. It's called HF Jesco, and I believe it was from Envato Elements. Now, Ken, our client, mentioned before the project how his products would play into the brand name. So we have 4 hairlines, which is a hairline spray. We have 4 curls, which is a curling cream. And then we have the brand name, which is 4 hair. No doubt with the packaging, it's also going to be essential that we have a stacked variation of this word mark. So we're going to take the second word and bring it underneath. Now, it appears that all of the letters have the same width, so we're going to align them for consistency. And a great way to do that is to start by pressing Command and O to convert it to outlines. And then if we press R on the keyboard, we can activate our rulers, which is going to help us align the letters. Well, now we have the word mark, but we still need to complete the logo. Now, over the years, I've experimented with many different ways to create meaningful logos, but the following is yet to fail me. Now, you're going to want to start by mind mapping out all of the words related to the brand. This could be the brand values, words that link to the industry, literally as many words as you can possibly think of on this piece of paper. The more words, the better the exploration. Now, once we've got the words, we can start to visualize these by combining different words together in the form of an icon. Now, the longer you can spend ideating the logos in this stage, the more likely you are to land on a solid concept. For this project, we picked innovation as one of the words, and we wanted to implement this into an FH monogram. Now, the reason that I do like this concept is because it opens up endless opportunities to create a brand system, revolving completely around abstract shapes, which is going to inspire patterns, containers, and it will also inspire the packaging. To create the logo, I created it inside of Adobe Illustrator by creating a rectangle, converting it into a stroke, head into object, split into grid, and then dividing the square into 100 pieces, each with a spacing of 10 pixels wide. This gives us full control over the spacing. If we press shift and one of the arrows, we know a pixel is going to move 10 spaces to the left. You'll see with the logo we have some arrows at the top, which represent innovation, and the other shapes give us an F and a H for the monogram. Now it's time to introduce some colour. Sites like Coolers are actually really good if you aren't confident with your colour selection, but honestly, we've covered pretty much most of the colours in this colour palette. The reason being that I wanted to give Ken enough options and enough colour combinations to allow him to switch it up on every single release of products. Now, your colour palettes can vary on a case-by-case basis. I've had some brands that just stick to a 3 to 4 colour palette, and others like this one where we've got a wide range of colour selections. So the next step is to test our colour palette for contrast, and a great site to do this is Coolers. All you need to do is go through them 2 pairings at a time and then note down which ones work and which ones don't work. And this is going to be really useful when we create the brand guidelines later on. Now, if you don't do this, clients will undoubtedly use the wrong color pairings, and then it could look bad on you as a designer. So the logo and the colors are now complete, but the brand still feels empty. And this is where we need to bring in appropriate brand assets. Honestly, brand assets are the life and soul of the identity. For her, we took inspiration from the logo, created a bunch of shapes, turned them into patterns, containers, and design elements, and that inspired the packaging, which also had these authentic illustrations on there as well. So this was the hand-drawn illustration icon library, and this is what we mocked up the packaging to look like. Within this mockup, you can also see how we've used the shapes as containers as well. Now, if you're looking for mockups, Mr. Mockup is a good place to find mockups, or you can use Envato elements. This isn't sponsored by either of those. So now with the brand in a presentable manner, we need to showcase it to them, explaining every single design decision, and the brand presentation allows us to do just that. Now, there's a video on my channel where I showcase how you can build one from the ground up, or you can check out my store in the link in the description. Now, I personally prefer to present this on a call to a client, and once they've signed it off, I then build out the brand guidelines. Again, there's a video on this channel showing you exactly how you can build this out from scratch, but here's a quick look at the one that we built for Hair.